So I think I'm gaining a lot of clarity around spiritual self-confidence and freedom, and I just wanted to check in with you and make sure. So you were talking about two paths leading to the same place, and in seeing it from the second perspective, where it's a choice, freedom is a choice. Sorry.
Happens to me all the time. Take your time.
Okay, so can you remind me what the two paths are, and I'll grasp it.
Well, one is when the experience of freedom is spontaneous, and the other is when it's a result of choice, willpower,
Okay, I got
effort.
it. Okay, I got it. So when I'm meditating and I've never let go of everything, am I still free if I choose to be free? If I take the position of letting go consistently over and over and over again.
So you said you start at the beginning again?
So during my meditation, I've never let go of absolutely everything.
How do you know? Or how?
Because I've never experienced the ground of being. I've never let go of absolutely everything.
Uh-huh.
So, but like today in my meditation practice, I'm getting a deeper sense of spiritual self-confidence of the ground of being, but I've never let go of everything, where I've gone deep, like how you were talking about the ocean, going deeper and deeper, deeper into the bottom of the ocean. I feel like I'm at the surface. So I guess what I'm wondering is, am I still free if I choose to let go over and over and over again?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then is the point of, from that perspective, is the point of letting go of absolutely everything during meditation to experience that deepest ground of being?
What? Finish your sentence, what?
If from that second perspective of letting go consistently, I'm free in that. So is the point of letting go of absolutely everything during meditation?
Well, the thing is, I think I said yesterday, you can't really, I make these distinctions in order to be able to discuss it in different ways, but ultimately you can't really separate the two. Because unless somebody really does let go, like remember going from -1 to 0, so unless on some level you have let go of everything, you're not really going to be in a position to be able to do it manually either, successfully. Right?
Right. So if I choose to let go consistently over and over again, it should make it easier for me to be able to let go of everything.
Yeah, but why are you waiting for it? What's the problem?
There is no problem.
No, but why don't you want to let go of everything?
Well, I do.
To begin with.
I do. But I guess I just don't know how to. So I feel like I've been making it a problem.
That's the problem.
Yeah. So then I was thinking, then if I take the second perspective that I'm always free, then...
Because you see, the thing is, if you really are at that point when you want to let go of everything, you're ready and willing, then it's going to happen one way or the other. Mm. But if people say, I am, but it isn't happening, it means on some level, consciously or unconsciously, they're not being honest.
Mm. Okay.
Follow?
Yep.
Because... Because if you want to be free more than anything else, who's going to stop you?
Nobody.
What?
Nobody.
So if you don't, then you won't. And if you do, then you will. Makes it pretty simple, doesn't it? And I'm totally convinced about that. But I want you to be more focused on the intention rather than any particular experience. Because
right.
Then your ego's kind of waiting. See, what happens is then by the default position, which everybody falls into, is that the ego kind of hijacks the whole process and starts checking everything out, telling you what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's false, what's freedom, and what's not. When freedom is actually completely disengaging from that part of yourself, no matter what your experience is. See?
Mm-hmm. So I guess this is sort of related. In my meditation, since I've been here, I've been compelled to to sit longer and to stay and sort of, I guess, discover. And I think that I'm wondering, is that me wanting to experience, or is that consciousness wanting to know itself?
Which would you prefer?
Consciousness wanting to know itself.
What?
Consciousness wanting to know itself.
Whatever works.
Okay.
Whatever works, but at the same time, if you start developing a preference for being still, and for being still, and for not being lost in the complexity of the confusion of your mind, that means something. So if you start developing a preference, then something deeper is definitely moving you. But you have to remember, I think the simple point is that the ego doesn't want this, never wanted it, never will want it. So I don't think you have to worry about it, that this, in the way that I teach, I always say that the spiritual impulse is coming from the source. The spiritual impulse is not coming from your ego, so you don't have to really worry about it. So in all the different ways, gross and subtle, that your aspiration for awakening is manifesting itself, It's all coming, none of it's coming from your ego, so you don't have to worry about it. It's all coming from a deeper place, whether it's in the form of a thought, a kind of an intellectual curiosity, a philosophical curiosity, moral curiosity. None of it's coming from your ego. The motivation to want to know these things, to want to understand, to want to experience a much deeper relationship to life, to experience some profound existential, to come to some existential clarity. None of that comes from the ego, so you don't have to worry about it. You can trust that it's all good.
Okay, thank you.
But the ego is the part of yourself that will hijack that process one way or the other. So that's what you have to be aware of. So any voice in your head that will tell you that this isn't more important than anything else, and will give you all the apparently good reasons why that's the case, is your ego. And any emotional, any inclination towards transcendence and liberating insight is all coming from the self. So you can just accept that it's all good. And you don't let your ego start telling you what's ego and what's not. Because it's. You follow?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because what we're interested here is a shift, is a fundamental shift of identification in yourself from your ego to these deeper dimensions of the self. And so the question, how I always put it, I said, who's in control of your body, mind, and personality? Who has dominion over the body, mind, and personality? Who's in control? Who's making the decisions? So the shift here is when your psychological self and your culturally conditioned self, and also your psychological self, is no longer in control of the body, mind, and personality. It's these deeper dimensions of self, and along with the higher and deeper life motives. That's what you were striving for. So it's one or the other. So all the ways in which you feel inspired, spiritually inspired, and one of them is that you feel this drawn to just to be quiet for longer and longer periods of time. It's all good, but also the intellectual curiosity about how all this really works, the philosophical curiosity, the wanting to come to terms with moral complexity and ambiguity, all that. It's all coming from the same place. So you can just blindly trust all of it. And you just keep it very simple. What forces in yourself are compelling you to go in that direction, and what forces in yourself are compelling you to go in any other direction. And then you keep it very simple. And then ego is that which is pulling you away, and everything else is all good. So it's very simple then. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, what we call the ground of being is not an object. It's not an object, and it's not a particular experience. It's more like the absence of versus the presence of. So, so the shift from we could say, to one way to put it, from knowing something intellectually to not knowing anything intellectually, but awakening to a deeper kind of knowing. That would be the direction. But you can't, this is the part of your mind that's trying to kind of get control of this process and try to figure it out is all wrong. It's all your ego. So you don't have to, the way to get through this is you just don't listen to any of that because it's all wrong anyway. And there's no particular experience that you can say that's it, because then you objectify something that you can't objectify. So we have to learn how to just not do that. So you remember my teacher said to me, I'm glad you found a friend you're never going to be able to see. I'm glad you found a friend you'll never be able to see. You have to think about, what does that mean? I'm glad you found a friend you're never going to be able to see. That's very profound. So if you can't see that friend, and that's your best friend, how do you have a relationship with a friend you can't see? And that's your most intimate friend, your best friend. How are you going to do it? So then, if you can't see, then you have to then all you can do is let go of everything else. Let go of your identification, attachment with everything and anything you can see, taste, touch, locate. Smell, taste, touch, locate. Put your finger on. You just have to blindly let go of everything else, and then whatever will be left will be that friend. But then, how are you going to? If you can't taste it, you can't touch it, you can't smell it, you can't see it. You can't identify it with your cognitive apparatus. What are you going to do? So the only way then is you give up your relationship with everything that you can see, taste, smell, taste, touch, and know with your mind. Follow? Yeah. So it's very hard for people to get this because it gets kind of subtle, and everybody's still trying to get it through their mind. And then the idea here is that anything that has a beginning in time isn't it. So, and including a lot of wonderful experiences we can have. So any experience you have that has a beginning and an end can't be that, because that, what we're talking about, exists outside of time. So how can anything that exists outside of time be located in time? It can't. So therefore, any experience that has a beginning and an end, it can't be it. No matter how wonderful it is, that can't be it, because it has a beginning and an end. So then you have to let go of that also. So what are you left with? Absolutely nothing. Right?
Yeah.
And so then there's a lot of austerity in that. So you're left with absolutely nothing. So what are you going to do? So all you can do then is surrender. There's no other entry point except complete surrender. It's complete surrender to that which exists beyond the mind, and that's it. And the rest is out of your hands. But since most people don't understand these things, even though they read books about it, it's we always fall into the trap of making something into an object that can't be objectified. And so basically the process is just is gradually just learning to stop doing that. And some people do, and a lot of people don't. Because then all you're left with is zero. That's really all you're left with. And it's very hard to do anything with zero. You can't make anything out of it, right? And you can't, you see? So I think you might be in better shape than you imagine.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah.
And you can be in a lot better shape than you imagine if you just trust or accept, embrace the truth of what I'm saying to you, and then you just be left with nothing. And then see how you do with that. Remember, nothing is not something. You see what I'm saying?
I do. I think I keep trying to have an experience, even though I'm not recognizing that's what I was doing. Or attain, like you're saying,
what?
Attain something like making it an object.
Right. Right, and that's right. That's what everybody does. This is kind of all part for the course. But the thing is, it's not good to try and have experiences, because the thing is, things can happen that can be quite overwhelming. And so what you want to do is you want to assume the position of already being there, which is letting go of absolutely everything. And then whatever happens, you'll be completely prepared. Otherwise, people, they want to have an experience, The next thing you know, something happens that's really overwhelming. It's just too much. They have an experience of the infinite, and then they can't take it. They get scared. Their ego shuts it all down. They get terrified because it's too big, because they can't control it. It gets overwhelming, and then they recoil, in terror, because it's just too big. And then after that, then they feel defeated. They feel defeated, and also they lose confidence in their own capacity for higher development. So, therefore, it's better to assume the position of already being there, which is if you let go of everything. If zero is your meditation object, and you take it very seriously, you're already there, and whatever happens, you're prepared. See my point? So it makes everything very simple. But the reason why it's hard for a lot of people to accept is an enormous amount of renunciation involved in that. Because everything that your mind is telling you about all this, you have to just reject it all. And that takes a lot of courage and humility to reject absolutely everything your mind's going to tell you about this. You follow? So there's a lot of renunciation involved. So you see, even for me to be able to teach the way I teach, and I know I'm very good at what I do. I know I'm very good at it. The thing is, Andrew, the person, the person with the ego can't really relate to what I'm doing right now, because I can't really imagine it. I'm just trying to make what I'm saying tangible. I can't really imagine it. Right? So the only way I can pull this off is by doing all the things I'm telling you. This is exactly what I do. That's what makes it possible for me to show up like this. But if I had a materialistic relationship to this, if I wasn't doing what I'm telling you to do, I wouldn't be able to pull this off. I wouldn't be able to have access to the knowledge I have access to. I wouldn't be able to be spontaneous. I wouldn't be able to know what I know. I just wouldn't be able to do it because I would be too involved with it. My ego would be too involved with it, so my relationship would be very dualistic. So then, I just have to come in empty-handed, which that's the zero. I have to come in empty-handed, and then it always works. But then you have to have the courage to be empty-handed. So being empty-handed means you don't already know. You don't already know. And you don't, and there's no particular state of consciousness, that's going to be the guaranteed to buoy your experience. It may be the case, it might not be the case, but you can't rely on anything. You can't depend on any particular state, experience, any particular feeling, any particular vibration, pulsation, experience of any kind whatsoever. It's only zero. So you see that in the zero, there's total renunciation, complete renunciation of anything and everything you can think of, and that's the access point, And so, for most people, it's just too much. They just can't. First of all, they don't believe it, because it doesn't make sense on a purely rational, in terms of rational linear thinking. It doesn't make any sense, because the absence of everything is the end of everything, and it's, it just doesn't make any sense in terms of linear thinking. And also, a lot of people just don't. So that's it, yeah. And so then it requires a degree of trust that's unimaginable. I'm glad you found a friend you're never going to be able to see. So the trust is way beyond what most people are capable of. But that's what it takes. Get the idea?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And also, once you get this, it's not over. I mean, then you have to continue to do it. You have to continue to do exactly what I'm describing, which is what I have to continue to do. See? So that's why you can see why I say then, if you just go to zero right now, then you're already there anyway. Whatever happens or doesn't happen, you're already there. Now people say, when is that? Really? And then all I can do is just shrug my shoulders and say, I don't know, maybe it'll take you another 5 years to get it, or 20 years, or 50 years, or maybe not, you won't get it this lifetime, but I'll be saying the same thing 100 years from now, and so will anybody else who knows what they're talking about in relationship to this subject, because it's just the way it is, and it's not going to change. I've told you everything you need to know, and and everyone else is listening. That's more or less all you need. There's nothing more really to it. And so the thing is, people say that's it, because then it seems like there's nothing to it. And also because we're always looking through a materialistic lens, at quantity and sensation and whatever else we're looking for. We don't see anything. So since we don't see anything, we conclude it's just nonsense. So it's a subtle materialism. And so someone who truly embraces spirit as absolute nature, spirit as self-nature, absolutely, is giving up the subtle materialism that's so inherent in our culturally created modern and postmodern identities. Right? Even people who don't think they're materialists by nature, unless you actually make this leap, there will be subtle materialism in the way we think about and relate to life. So that's one thing. That's part one. But part two is this, that I've seen and had many students in my career as a teacher who have had mind-blowing spiritual episodes as a result of spending time with me, all the fireworks you can imagine. And went through similar kinds of spiritual episodes that I went through after I met my own teacher. And these can be short or long, lasting for, days or weeks at a time. But the thing is, hardly any of them were able to do what I'm telling you to do. And as a result, those spiritual fireworks were just spiritual fireworks. It didn't lead to anything all that profound in the end. They're not any more enlightened than a lot of people who've never had those kind of experiences, because they weren't willing to let go of everything as a result. So the fireworks don't necessarily lead to enlightenment as a result. The inherent in the fireworks is the potential for enlightenment, but there's no guarantee that those fireworks are going to have that result at all. Usually it doesn't. So there's no particular experience that anybody can have that guarantees enlightenment as a result. The only thing that's going to guarantee it is when you, whoever you are, gets to that point in your own development where you are willing to let go of everything, and you mean it. It's between you and you. So when I was with my teacher, I said exactly the same thing. It was just the two of us, and he was just sitting on his bed. I was sitting in a chair. And I'd known him for a few days, and I observed myself say to him, I actually didn't, it shocked me when I said it, because I didn't think about it before I said it. I said, I want to die, but I don't know how. And I went like that when I said it, and he didn't say anything. So, but I meant it. Otherwise I wouldn't have said it, and I didn't even think about saying it. So if you mean it, it will happen. But I can't tell you how many students I have. When I saw the kind of experiences they were having, I was sure that it was going to lead to the same thing. They're going to end up just like me, because they were having exactly the same experience. But it just didn't have the same results. So the experience itself was just one part of a much larger process. And fundamentally, it's really all about wanting this more than anything else, number one, and being very, really getting this thing about of zero. The rest is all irrelevant. The rest is all just comes and goes. It's all part of a passing show, including dramatic spiritual episodes, which can be very exciting, or terrifying, depending on who the person is. And the other thing that happens is if you have these kind of dramatic firework experiences, more often than not, the individual gets on a big ego trip. Most of the time. Because they get that feeling of power, or enormous power. So their ego gets all pumped up. Because they experience kind of the exhilaration of the kind of a bliss and, a certain kind of intensity. Right? It's a delicate business, right? So you don't listen to what your ego's telling you, because it doesn't know anything about this. You should just, tell it to take a hike. It really doesn't know anything, and so if you listen to it, it'll just, take you down the wrong road. So I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a long time, and you just keep it really simple, and then you have to bear the austerity of it. I'm glad to see your friend. I'm glad you found a friend you're never going to be able to see. I mean, that's going to be a lot of austerity in that. If your best friend, if you never get to see your best friend, that's kind of challenging, right? So you see, it's all about renunciation. So it's really about the absence of, rather than the presence of. If it's about enlightenment, that's more or less what it's all about.